So, what if I told you that your IQ isn't some fixed number you're stuck with? What if, for your entire life, you've had the power to actually make your brain smarter? Well, today, we're diving into the science and the habits that prove intelligence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. All right, let's just get right to it with the biggest question of all. Is your IQ actually set in stone? For decades, we've kind of been told that intelligence is all genetic. You get what you get, and that's it. But what if that whole story is just a myth? You've got this old belief, right? That intelligence is like a genetic lottery, a score you're stuck with forever. But then there's the new reality, and it's backed by a ton of evidence. We now know that intelligence is way more like a skill. It's not something you're just born with. It's something you build, piece by piece, and it can absolutely grow over time. Still not sure? Okay, well, think about the ultimate symbol of genius, Albert Einstein. His teachers literally thought he was slow as a child. They looked at him and thought, yeah, this kid just isn't very intelligent. And it wasn't just him. Take Thomas Edison, the guy who basically invented the 20th century. He was actually sent home from school because his teachers decided he was incapable of learning anything. Can you even imagine that? So what happened? What was the secret that turned these kids, who everyone had written off, into two of the greatest minds in history? It wasn't some magic trick. The secret wasn't in their genes. It was in their habits. And that right there is the key to everything we're talking about today. Okay, so if intelligence is all about habits, that brings up a really important question. How do you actually practice it? So let's get into it. We're going to break down these 6 essential habits that are basically a toolkit for building a smarter brain. So here's our game plan. We've got think without input, try it yourself first, write to think, learn everything, train your memory, and you'll see why, rust your brain. Let's jump in with number 1. First up is a habit that sounds so simple, but in our crazy, noisy world, it's a total game changer. Think without input. You know, most of us think we get smarter by just consuming more videos, more podcasts, more articles. But that's only half the story. This is all about a practice called undistracted thinking. See, neuroscience is showing us that our brains make their biggest connections when they're forced to work with the information they already have without new stuff constantly pouring in. Einstein was famous for doing this on his long walks. No phone, no music, just him and his thoughts. So here's the challenge. Try taking a 20-minute walk every day. No phone, no podcasts. It's going to feel weird at first, maybe even a little boring, but that discomfort, that's the feeling of your brain getting stronger. Okay, so once you've carved out that space for thinking, the next step is to embrace what we call productive struggle. And that's our second habit. Try it yourself first. Just think about it. If you're trying to solve a puzzle and someone just gives you the answer right away, did your brain actually learn anything? Nope. Your brain only gets stronger when it tries and fails and then tries again. Benjamin Franklin actually had a whole system for this. He'd read something, shut the book, and then try to rewrite the entire thing from memory just to make sure he truly got it. See, struggling isn't a sign that you're not smart. It's the workout that builds intelligence. This whole idea of active struggle flows right into our third habit, which totally reframes something we all do. Write to think, not just to store things. Most of us use writing to take notes, right? To remember stuff. But the smartest people use writing as the thinking tool itself. So how does that even work? Well, writing forces your brain, which is usually racing with a million thoughts, to slow down and focus on just one thing at a time. It's like holding up a mirror to your own mind. It shows you what you really understand, and maybe even more importantly, it shines a big spotlight on what you're confused about. Just keeping a simple daily journal for your thoughts can be absolutely transformative. Now, a fantastic way to fill in those gaps that writing reveals is with our fourth habit. Learn everything, not just one single subject. Here's the thing about really smart people. They're not just experts in one narrow field. They are connection-making machines. They learn about all sorts of different things: art, science, history, business, and then their brains get busy finding the hidden links between them. Your brain gets smarter not just by how much you know, but by how many connections it can make between all the things you know. A good goal? Try to learn one new thing, totally outside your comfort zone, every single week. Habit number 5 is here to bust a huge myth: train your memory. You have to think about it like this. Memory is a muscle, not a talent. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, I just have a bad memory"? That's like saying you have weak arms but never going to the gym. Memory is a skill, and you can absolutely train it. And here is a super simple workout for that memory muscle. First, learn something new. Second, put the book away or turn off the video. Then, and this is the magic part, try to explain what you just learned to someone else. When you force your brain to teach something, it locks that information in on a much, much deeper level. And that brings us to our final and maybe the most surprising habit. Rest your brain to upgrade it. We live in this hustle culture where we think rest is the same thing as being lazy. But for your brain, rest is when the real upgrade happens. Get this, Charles Darwin, one of the most important thinkers ever, only did his focused, deep work for about 4 hours a day. The rest of the time, he was walking, thinking, and resting. He knew that the brain doesn't get smarter while it's sprinting. It upgrades during the downtime, when it's quietly filing away information and making all those new connections in the background. So let's wrap all this up. If you only take one thing away from this, please let it be this. Intelligence is not a score you're given. It's a dynamic skill. It's a process, not a product. And that means it's time to start practicing. So what's in your new toolkit? You got the focus to think without distractions, the toughness to struggle with problems first, the clarity that comes from writing your thoughts down, the creativity to connect ideas from totally different fields, the powerful memory that you build by teaching others, and of course, the wisdom to let your brain rest. These aren't magic tricks, they're skills you can train, starting today. So, since we know that intelligence is an active, ongoing process, there's really only one question left that matters. Looking at these habits, what's your first step going to be?